In many relationships, especially in the early stages or even within long-term commitments, it's common to encounter situations where a woman expresses deep affection, love, and emotional connection, yet still chooses to say no to sex. For some men, this can feel confusing or even frustrating, especially if they equate physical intimacy with love or validation. But it's important to understand that emotional and physical needs are not always aligned. And for many women, that gap is deeply rooted in psychology, personal experiences, and societal influences. A woman might deeply care about someone, enjoy their company, feel connected on every level, and still not be ready for sexual intimacy. That doesn't mean her feelings aren't real. It simply means she's navigating her comfort level, her values, or her own pace when it comes to physical connection. This difference in pace isn't about game, playing, or manipulation. In most cases, it reflects the way women are socially conditioned to associate sex with vulnerability, safety, and trust. In many cultures and social environments, women are taught from a young age to protect themselves emotionally, physically, and sexually. Unlike men, who may feel freer to explore physical intimacy without deeper emotional attachment, women are often told directly or indirectly that their value is tied to how they handle sexual boundaries. A woman saying no doesn't mean she isn't attracted. It means she's likely weighing her decision against a lifetime of internalized messages about self, worth, safety, and expectations. Moreover, the emotional consequences of sex can feel heavier for many women. For some, having sex too soon with someone they care about might trigger fears of being used or abandoned. They want to know that the emotional foundation is stable before offering themselves in such a vulnerable way. This is particularly true if a woman has had negative past experiences, such as being ghosted after sex, or feeling like her body was valued more than her mind. So, she may choose to hold back physically until she feels secure enough to trust that your intentions are genuine and that you see her as more than a sexual opportunity. Another factor to consider is that women often experience desire in a more responsive way than men do. While men may feel spontaneous sexual desire, that urge that shows up seemingly out of nowhere, women often experience desire after emotional intimacy is already established. In other words, they might not feel like having sex until they already feel emotionally connected, seen, and understood. This responsive desire isn't about withholding, it's simply how many women are wired. For a woman, deep conversation, shared laughter, gentle gestures, and a sense of emotional safety can be the spark that ignites physical desire. So, when a woman says no to sex but still wants to be with you, talk to you, spend time with you, and be affectionate in other ways, she's telling you something important. She's saying, I care about you, I enjoy being close to you, but I need time to feel safe enough to take that next step. This is not rejection. This is not resistance to intimacy. It is a request for understanding, patience, and respect. For men, understanding this emotional landscape is powerful. Too often, men are taught that physical touch or sex is the primary indicator of romantic success, but real connection goes deeper than that. If you respond to her no with grace, respect, and patience, you're showing her something she may not often experience. A man who doesn't view her body as a reward, but sees her as a whole person, someone whose emotions, thoughts, and experiences are just as important as her physical presence. Furthermore, many women test emotional safety not through confrontation, but through boundaries. Saying no to sex might be her way of asking, will you still want me if I say no? It's a way of evaluating whether your connection can survive without the immediate gratification of sex. If the answer is yes, if you stay kind, present, and supportive, you earn her trust, which is the true gateway to long-lasting, passionate intimacy. It's also important to recognize that some women have different timelines for intimacy. A woman might want to build a relationship slowly, not because she's teasing or playing hard to get, but because she values long-term potential and wants to be sure before committing physically. Sex, for her, might not be about pleasure alone. It might be about making sure the emotional groundwork is solid. This doesn't make her less sexual, it just means she's sexually intentional. Many men find that when they stop trying to get sex and instead focus on building connection, affection, trust, and mutual joy, the physical side of the relationship develops naturally and often in more meaningful, passionate ways. When a woman feels emotionally seen, she becomes more open to physical closeness. When she knows she won't be pressured, judged, or rushed, her body begins to relax into the possibility of deeper intimacy. Another layer to consider is that saying no to sex doesn't mean saying no to desire. A woman can absolutely feel desire, even strong sexual energy, and still choose not to act on it. This is especially true when a woman is developing feelings and wants to make sure her emotional needs are not overshadowed by immediate physical satisfaction. She may want everything: love, care, attention, support, but she wants to receive it from a place of trust, not transaction. That distinction matters deeply. Ultimately, a mature, respectful man understands that emotional and physical intimacy are not always on the same timeline. He understands that a woman's no doesn't mean rejection, it means not yet, or not like this, or not until I feel truly safe. He sees that honoring a woman's pace is not a weakness, but a strength, a way of showing her that his connection with her goes beyond the bedroom. When a man stops focusing on getting something, and instead focuses on giving, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, everything changes. The pressure melts, the walls come down, and often when the emotional bond becomes strong enough, the physical intimacy that follows is deeper, more fulfilling, and more powerful than anything forced or rushed. In the end, emotional maturity in a relationship means understanding that connection isn't just about what you want. It's about meeting her where she is and growing together. When a woman says no to sex but still stays close, it means she sees something in you, something worth building. The question is, can you see the long game too? When a woman sets boundaries, especially around something as intimate and personal as sex, it is often misunderstood. Some men take it as a rejection, an insult, or a challenge to their masculinity, but the truth is far more meaningful. A woman saying no to sex or drawing a line in the sand is not pushing someone away, she's asserting her self-respect. She's showing that she honors herself, her values, and her emotional needs. And rather than seeing that as a barrier, men who truly want connection should see it as a signal of strength and self-awareness. Boundaries by nature are protective. We all set them in different ways. Some boundaries are spoken, like saying, "I'm not ready," or "let's take it slow." Others are unspoken, like a shift in body language, a pause in conversation, or a hesitation when intimacy moves too fast. For women, these boundaries are often shaped by past experiences, sometimes painful, sometimes confusing, that have taught them the importance of being careful with their bodies and their trust. Society teaches women that saying yes too soon might make them look easy, desperate, or less valuable. That's a heavy burden to carry, especially when emotions and attraction are real. So when a woman says no or pulls back, she's not playing games. She's navigating a complex world where her choices are constantly judged. Saying no isn't about punishing or testing someone. It's about preserving self-worth and protecting emotional safety. It's also worth noting that boundaries are a way of determining who respects her as a person, not just as a body. When a man respects her limits, listens to her words, and adjusts his behavior without complaining or manipulating, it sends a powerful message: I see you, I hear you, I value your comfort more than my desire. That level of respect builds trust, and trust builds intimacy. Ironically, many relationships that begin with strong boundaries end up becoming the deepest. most connected ones because they are founded on mutual respect rather than pressure. Women often use boundaries to communicate their standards too. It's not just about sex, it's about how they expect to be treated, how seriously they take their emotions, and how much they value their own well-being. When a woman says she won't sleep with someone outside of commitment or until she feels secure, she's telling the other person, "I'm not willing to compromise what I need just to keep you." That level of self-respect isn't something to be challenged, it's something to be admired. The problem arises when boundaries are taken personally. A man might feel rejected, confused, or even insulted, especially if he believes that physical closeness should naturally follow emotional closeness. But boundaries aren't personal attacks, they're personal decisions. They're about what someone needs to feel safe, whole, and respected. When men take those boundaries as insults or try to break them down through pressure, persistence, or guilt, they show a lack of emotional maturity. And that kind of behavior erodes trust faster than anything else. In reality, a boundary is an invitation not to push harder, but to slow down and deepen connection. It's a moment to reflect and ask, what does she need to feel safe? Or how can I make her feel valued without needing to cross that line? That mindset doesn't just make a man more attractive, it makes him trustworthy. It shows that he's capable of emotional presence, not just physical pursuit. It's also important to understand that boundaries can change over time. What feels like a no today might become a yes tomorrow, but not because the woman was persuaded or pressured. It's because she arrived at that decision on her own terms in her own time, and when that happens, the intimacy that follows is far more genuine, more passionate, and more fulfilling. It wasn't taken, it was given, and that difference matters. For many women, setting sexual boundaries is a reflection of emotional intelligence. They are attuned to how sex affects their mind, their heart, and even their future. They know that moving too fast can sometimes cloud judgment or create emotional confusion. So they draw lines to protect themselves from outcomes they may not be ready for, not because they don't trust the other person, but because they are still learning to trust the situation. This is especially true for women who have been hurt before, used or misled by someone who seemed kind but turned out to be selfish. Boundaries also play a huge role in filtering intentions. A woman who says no wants to see how a man reacts. Does he get frustrated? Does he pull away? Or does he stay, continue the connection, and show consistency? That reaction tells her more about the man's intentions than any sweet words ever could. If a man can handle a boundary with grace, it's a strong sign that he's not just after gratification, he's after something real. There's also a deeper message in a woman's boundary setting. It says, I care about this enough to protect it. That includes herself, but it also includes the relationship. Women who rush into sex and regret it often walk away from something that had real potential. By waiting, by saying no, by preserving space and time, she's giving the connection room to grow. She's nurturing it. She's choosing to build something with depth, not just speed. A mature man understands this. He doesn't see boundaries as walls, he sees them as doors, and he knows that those doors don't open through force or persuasion, but through presence, consistency, and patience. He knows that his character is revealed not when he gets what he wants, but in how he responds when he doesn't. And that, more than anything, earns trust. Sexual boundaries are also a form of empowerment. They allow a woman to reclaim control over her body and her choices. In a world that constantly tries to sexualize and objectify women, saying no is a radical act of self-ownership. It's her way of saying, I decide what happens to me. And when a man honors that decision, he becomes someone who empowers her, not someone who takes power away. It's important for men to reflect on their own expectations too. Are they seeing sex as a need, a right, or a milestone? Or are they open to building something that goes beyond immediate gratification? True intimacy isn't about crossing a finish line, it's about building trust step by step. Every no is a chance to slow down, listen deeper, and show who you really are. In the end, a woman who sets boundaries is a woman who knows her worth. She's not withholding affection, she's protecting her peace. She's not rejecting connection, she's making sure it's real. And when that connection is built on respect, understanding, and emotional safety, it often leads to the most powerful kind of intimacy, the kind that lasts. There's a common misconception that desire always leads directly to action, that if someone wants something, they'll automatically pursue it. But in human relationships, especially when it comes to intimacy and sex, things aren't that simple, especially for women. A woman can absolutely feel desire, attraction, and emotional closeness with someone, and still not be ready to act on it physically. This internal contradiction might be difficult to understand from the outside, but it's very real and deeply human. Desire without readiness is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in modern relationships. When a woman says she's not ready for sex, some people assume she's not interested at all. But the truth is often the opposite. She may very much be attracted. She may fantasize about the person, want to kiss them, hold them, and share intimate moments, and yet still feel emotionally or mentally unprepared to take the next physical step. That hesitation doesn't cancel the desire, it coexists with it. Understanding this duality requires empathy and maturity. People are not machines. Emotional, psychological, and even cultural factors all influence when someone feels ready to be physically vulnerable with another person. A woman might be dealing with internal fears, fears of being judged, fears of getting hurt, fears of repeating past mistakes. She might be weighing the consequences of intimacy, thinking ahead to how she would feel after, how the relationship would change, or what expectations would follow. Even if her body says yes, her heart or mind may still be cautious, and that caution is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of self-awareness. For many women, sex isn't just a physical act, it's emotional territory. It comes with meaning, vulnerability, and the possibility of emotional consequence. She may desire someone and even crave their touch, but if she senses that things are moving too fast, or if she hasn't built enough trust yet, her desire will be met with restraint. That internal resistance isn't fake, manipulative, or meant to punish. It's protective. It's her way of making sure that when she gives herself to someone, she's not sacrificing her emotional stability in the process. In these moments, the most powerful thing a man can do is not push, not question, not guilt trip. It's simply to understand, to stay steady, to let her know through action more than words that he values her presence more than her body. That he can enjoy being with her without needing anything more. That kind of emotional patience is rare, and it makes an enormous difference. Because when a woman feels safe emotionally, she begins to relax. And when she relaxes, her readiness often starts to catch up to her desire, not because someone tried to persuade her, but because she chose it on her own terms. Desire without readiness is also impacted by life experiences. A woman who has been pressured in the past, who has regrets tied to rushed intimacy, or who has been hurt by someone she trusted, will naturally carry more caution into new relationships. Even if the new person is kind and genuine, those old wounds don't vanish instantly, so she might feel desire and still pull back. She might want to kiss someone one moment, then suddenly say stop the next. That inconsistency isn't deception, it's healing in real time. And it takes a high level of emotional maturity to handle that without frustration or ego. In some cases, a woman's desire is also tied to emotional stimulation more than just physical attraction. She may feel aroused when a man is gentle, thoughtful, or emotionally intelligent. She might get turned on by feeling seen, heard, or understood. But again, even when her body reacts to those emotional cues, her readiness to act on that arousal may still take time. This is not a contradiction, it's how her body and heart process connection. Where some men may separate sex from emotion, many women combine the two, so desire only leads to action when emotional trust is firmly established. Another critical element is control. A woman may withhold sex not because she doesn't want it, but because she wants to feel that she's in control of the process. She doesn't want to feel swept away by chemistry or pressured by timing. She wants to feel that the decision is hers, not something she was talked into or expected to give. That feeling of control is essential. It protects her sense of agency and keeps her grounded. Even if she's attracted, even if she's emotionally connected, if she feels like she's losing control or being cornered, she will shut down because readiness is not just emotional, it's psychological. It's also possible that a woman is battling two parts of herself, the part that desires intimacy and the part that wants to wait. That internal battle can lead to mixed signals, moments of intense affection followed by sudden coldness or distance. For the man involved, this can be confusing and painful, but again, it's important to not take it personally. These mixed signals are often not about the other person at all. They're about her navigating her own process, her own timeline, and her own emotional safety. When she's ready, she'll show it, and the more supported she feels during the wait, the more likely she'll choose to take that next step. There's also a layer of social and cultural pressure. Women are often judged harshly for their sexual decisions. A man who sleeps around may be praised by his peers, but a woman who does the same may face shame, gossip, or regret. So even if she wants to be with someone physically, she may hold back simply because of how she fears being perceived afterward. That's a heavy burden to carry, and it's one that often delays her readiness, even if the desire is strong. Patience is not passive, it's an active form of emotional intelligence. It says, I see you, I understand your complexity, and I'm willing to wait because I value more than just one part of you. When a woman feels that kind of patience, she begins to associate that person with safety, and safety is the foundation of true intimacy. Without safety, desire remains trapped behind a wall. With it, desire becomes something she can embrace rather than resist. In the end, recognizing that desire and readiness are separate things is crucial for anyone seeking deep, lasting intimacy. It prevents misunderstanding, reduces resentment, and creates space for honest, respectful connection. A woman saying she's not ready doesn't mean she's uninterested. It means she's navigating her journey, trying to balance her emotions with her body's signals, trying to make a choice that she won't regret. Respecting that process isn't just kind, it's powerful. Because when readiness finally meets desire, the connection that follows is not only passionate, it's real. Real intimacy isn't something that happens instantly or by accident. It's not just about physical closeness or attraction. It's a deep emotional bond that's cultivated over time through trust, presence, understanding, and genuine connection. Many people chase intimacy through surface-level gestures or attempts to impress. But lasting intimacy is built in the quieter moments when someone listens without interrupting, respects boundaries without complaint, and shows up consistently without demanding anything in return. For a woman, feeling emotionally safe is often the key that unlocks her desire to be close physically. That safety doesn't come from grand gestures or smooth words, but from the way a man treats her day in and day out. It's in the tone he uses when she says she's tired or not in the mood. It's in his ability to listen to her stories and actually care about the small details. It's in how he handles conflict, whether he fights to be right or pauses to understand. These small acts over time create a space where she can begin to relax, to trust, and eventually to open up fully. One of the most powerful tools for building intimacy is emotional foreplay. This has nothing to do with touch or physical stimulation. It's about how someone makes another person feel emotionally. When a woman feels seen, appreciated, and emotionally held, it awakens a different level of connection within her. Compliments about her personality, her ideas, or her strength mean far more than generic praise about her looks. Remembering things she told you in passing, encouraging her dreams, or supporting her when she's down, these things linger in her heart long after the moment passes. Patience also plays a critical role in building real intimacy. Often, people rush into physical closeness, hoping it will create emotional connection, but intimacy flows more naturally the other way around. When a man is willing to go slow not because he's forced to, but because he chooses to, it tells a woman that she's valued for more than just what she can offer physically. That kind of patience is rare, and it builds an incredible level of trust. A woman who feels no pressure to give more than she's ready for will often give more willingly and more deeply over time. Touch is another form of communication that plays a part in building closeness, but it doesn't always have to be sexual. A hug, a hand held in silence, a brush of the arm, these gestures, when done with sincerity and care, say more than words sometimes can. They show presence, they remind her that someone is there, not demanding, not taking, but simply sharing space with her. Non-sexual physical affection is powerful because it removes expectation. It builds connection in a way that feels safe and comforting, and that safety often leads to deeper intimacy later on. Another, often overlooked way to build intimacy is to show vulnerability. Many men are taught to be strong, stoic, and emotionally unavailable, thinking that this makes them more masculine or attractive. But in reality, a woman is far more likely to connect deeply with someone who is honest about their struggles, open about their past, and willing to share what's in their heart. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. When a man says, "I was scared," or "I don't have it all figured out," he invites the other person to drop their guard too. And when both people are unguarded, intimacy flows. Communication is also a huge pillar of intimacy. But communication doesn't mean talking endlessly about random things. It means having conversations that matter. Talking about values, fears, dreams, and even disagreements in a respectful way allows two people to understand each other on a deeper level. When a woman feels that she can speak her truth without being judged, mocked, or dismissed, she becomes more emotionally attached. And the more emotionally connected she feels, the more naturally physical connection follows. Intimacy also grows through consistency. Saying the right thing once isn't enough. Showing up one day and disappearing the next destroys the foundation of trust. For intimacy to thrive, both people need to feel secure. That means being reliable. If you say you'll call, call. If you make a promise, keep it. These basic acts of integrity may seem small, but they speak volumes. A woman who knows she can count on someone is more likely to trust them with her body, her heart, and her future. Playfulness and shared joy are also deeply intimate. Laughing together, being silly, and finding happiness in shared experiences bonds people in ways that words alone cannot. When you can have fun together without always needing to be serious or romantic, you build a friendship beneath the relationship. And that friendship becomes the emotional net that catches you when things get tough. It also makes physical intimacy more enjoyable because it's not built on tension but on warmth. Understanding and adapting to love languages can also strengthen intimacy. Some women feel most loved through words of affirmation, while others need acts of service, quality time, gifts, or physical touch. Paying attention to how she responds to different gestures helps you connect with her in a way that resonates. If she lights up when you spend time with her but seems distant when you focus only on compliments, that's a clue. Learning how she receives love and then offering it that way makes her feel deeply understood. It's also important to note that creating intimacy isn't about performance or manipulation. It's not a strategy to get something. It's about being genuinely invested in another person's well-being and happiness. When intimacy is pursued for the sake of connection, not conquest, it becomes lasting and real. You don't need tricks or lines, you need presence, truth, and care. And when you give those things freely, the reward is a bond that's emotionally satisfying and physically fulfilling. Finally, one of the deepest expressions of intimacy is creating a space where both people can grow. That means encouraging her to chase her goals, supporting her when she doubts herself, and challenging her gently when she needs to see something differently. When you care about her growth, not just how she makes you feel, you show her that your connection isn't selfish. You become a partner in her evolution, and that creates a closeness that sex alone can't replicate. In all of this, the theme remains the same. Intimacy is built, not taken. It is given willingly when someone feels safe, valued, heard, and loved. If you're trying to build a connection with a woman who desires emotional closeness before physical contact, these tools are not just helpful, they are essential. Respect, patience, non-sexual affection, vulnerability, and consistency will always take you further than pressure, expectation, or tactics. And when physical intimacy does happen, it will feel different. It won't be shallow or transactional. It will be a reflection of something that's already alive between you. A physical expression of a bond that started long before any clothes came off. That's the kind of connection that leaves a lasting imprint. And it's the kind of intimacy most people crave, whether they say it out loud or not.